All right, let's dive right into this explainer. You see it up there almost every single night, right? Glowing in the dark, looking so familiar, so peaceful. But today we're going to focus on exactly one concept, the strange truths about our closest celestial neighbor. Because as it turns out, the moon is hiding some incredibly weird, dynamic secrets. So let's challenge our assumptions right out of the gate with a seemingly obvious question. How many moons are actually orbiting Earth right now? Well, if you said one, you're correct most of the time. But the cosmos is, honestly, a lot more playful than that. Because the reality is, two. Well, sometimes. Earth occasionally snatches up a small passing asteroid, temporarily turning it into a mini-moon for months or even years. Which means we sometimes literally have two moons, and almost nobody even notices. Actually, one was spotted back in 2020, and it just quietly circled us for about 3 years before drifting off again. So yeah, the answer isn't always one. And it goes beyond just temporary visitors. You've got space rocks like Kamo that loop around us in these bizarre, complex companion orbits. Earth's gravity kind of tangles with these rocks, meaning they can stick around as our companions for centuries. So long story short, our main moon isn't always flying solo. Okay, moving on to part one, the violent origin of planetary catastrophe. To really understand the moon, we have to rewind to the deep past. The crucial point here is that our moon exists purely because of a massive body nicknamed Theia. About 4.5 billion years ago, this Mars-sized planet slammed head-on into our young Earth. We are not talking about a glancing blow here. This was a cataclysmic, world-altering impact. The sheer scale of this collision played out in 3 dramatic steps. First, Theia impacts Earth. Next, the immense force of that blast flings a massive, swirling cloud of molten debris straight up into orbit, and then, finally, over time, all that superheated rock slowly clumps together thanks to gravity, forming the moon. So our moon is essentially a blasted-off piece of the early Earth mixed with the shattered remains of Theia. I absolutely love this quote because it brilliantly illustrates why this matters. Look up at it, and you're looking at the scar and the child of a planetary catastrophe. Every single time you look out your window at night, you aren't just staring at a dead rock in space. You are witnessing the literal aftermath of an epic cosmic collision from 4.5 billion years ago. Kinda shifts your whole perspective, doesn't it? Now let's fast forward to section 2, the hidden present and the bizarre realities above us. Because the weirdness definitely didn't stop at its fiery birth. Think about this for a second. Why do we never see the back of the moon? No matter when you look up or what phase it's in, it always shows us the exact same face. For all of human history, everyone who ever lived saw the exact same pattern. And that happens because the moon is what we call tidally locked. Basically, it rotates on its own axis at the exact same rate that it orbits around the Earth. Those two motions are perfectly synced up, meaning the same side is always facing inward toward us. So half of this massive celestial body was literally a complete mystery to humanity until a spacecraft finally flew around the back and photographed it in 1959. And when we finally got a look at that hidden half, it totally defied expectations. The familiar near side is relatively smooth, filled with those large, dark areas. But the far side? Totally different. It is rugged, heavily scarred, and densely covered in impact craters. It's almost like looking at a completely different moon. Also, we really need to shatter this illusion that the moon is just a static, dead, silent rock floating in the void. Sure, it looks perfectly peaceful from down here, but under the surface, it is surprisingly active. Thanks to seismometers left behind by the Apollo astronauts, we know the moon actually trembles with moonquakes. And we're not talking tiny tremors. Some are strong enough that they literally move the furniture in a lunar house. Now, here is the wild part. Because the moon is incredibly dry, it doesn't absorb shock like the wet Earth does. So when a quake hits, usually triggered by the sun's intense heat or Earth's gravity, the whole moon shivers and rings like a bell for up to an hour. It's literally vibrating in space. Which brings us to our final section, the long goodbye, how the moon is leaving us. It's a bit of a bittersweet reality, but every single year, the moon drifts about 3.8 centimeters farther away from Earth. It is a tiny amount. It's roughly the exact rate that your fingernails grow, so you'd never notice it day to day or even over a lifetime. But over deep, cosmic time, this incredibly slow drift adds up to some massive changes. When you map this out, it's pretty staggering. Billions of years ago, the moon was much closer. If you were standing on Earth back then, it would have looked absolutely enormous in the sky. Fast forward to today, and it happens to be at the exact right distance to create perfect total solar eclipses. But in the far future, as it continues to shrink in our sky, it's going to be too far away to fully cover the sun, meaning total eclipses will just vanish forever. So, because of this relentless drift, we are incredibly fortunate. We just happen to live in this perfect, lucky cosmic window where the moon's apparent size perfectly matches the sun's, letting us witness those breathtaking solar eclipses. It absolutely won't last forever, so it is definitely something to appreciate while we have it. To wrap this all up, secret extra moons born from a collision, slowly drifting away and ringing like a bell. The moon is stranger than it looks. It is a dynamic, fascinating companion. So the next time you gaze up at that glowing orb, remember, you're not just looking at a rock. You're looking at an ancient planetary scar, ringing in the dark, that is slowly, quietly saying goodbye. Thanks for exploring this with me today, and stay curious.